The rain poured over Blackwood Manor as 19-year-old Sarah Ashcroft stood alone before the gates of the estate where she had been born. Her long dark hair clung to her face, and the small leather suitcase in her hand held everything she owned. 20 years earlier, the Ashcroft family had ruled one of England's oldest noble estates. Today, Sarah was treated like a stranger. When Sarah was only 6 months old, her parents died in what the newspapers called a tragic car accident. The kingdom mourned their deaths, and her uncle, Lord Edward Ashcroft, became the temporary guardian of the estate until Sarah came of age. But Sarah never grew up inside the mansion. Edward claimed she was too sickly to live there, and secretly sent her to a remote orphanage under another name. Everyone believed the Ashcroft bloodline had ended forever. Only one old servant knew the truth. Before dying, Sarah's nanny handed her a faded silver necklace and whispered, "Never trust the man who calls himself your family. The crown they wear belongs to you." Sarah never understood those words until the mysterious invitation arrived. At 19, Sarah received a handwritten letter. "If you wish to know who murdered your parents, come home." No signature. No address besides Blackwood Manor. The moment Sarah stepped inside the mansion, dozens of servants stared at her in shock. She looked exactly like Lady Eleanor Ashcroft, her late mother. Edward's face turned pale. For a brief second, he looked terrified. Then he smiled. "My dear niece." His voice sounded warm, but his eyes carried hatred. Sarah instantly knew. He already knew who she was. Edward welcomed Sarah into the mansion, introducing her as a distant relative, not as the rightful heir. His elegant wife, Lady Victoria, constantly insulted Sarah. Their spoiled son, James, mocked her poor clothes, yet everyone in the mansion secretly admired Sarah. She possessed quiet elegance, kindness, and confidence. Within days, strange things began happening. Sarah found hidden portraits removed from the walls. Old servants refused to answer her questions. Every night she heard footsteps in the abandoned West Wing. One evening she followed the sounds. Behind a dusty bookshelf, she discovered a hidden passage. At the end stood an ancient room, untouched for 20 years. Inside were hundreds of family documents. One document froze her blood. Edward had forged every legal paper after her parents died. The estate, the fortune, everything had been stolen. Sarah wasn't poor. She was one of England's richest noble heirs. Someone had erased her existence. Before Sarah could escape, a loud voice echoed behind her. "Edward." He smiled calmly. "I wondered how long it would take." The hidden door slammed shut. Sarah was trapped. Edward slowly admitted everything. He had bribed doctors, forged death certificates, destroyed records, paid newspapers. Even the orphanage had been paid to hide Sarah forever. "But why didn't you kill me?" Sarah asked. Edward laughed. "A living heir is useful." He planned to force Sarah into signing every remaining inheritance document before making her disappear forever. Just when Sarah believed hope was gone, the old family butler, Mr. William, secretly helped her escape through underground tunnels beneath the manor. William had served Sarah's parents for 40 years. He had waited nearly 2 decades for her return. He handed Sarah a locked wooden box. "Your father told me to protect this until the rightful owner came home." Inside the box were original inheritance papers, secret bank records, a diary, a mysterious key. The diary changed everything. Sarah's father had suspected Edward long before his death. He had secretly recorded evidence, including names, dates, and one final sentence: "If anything happens to me, it was never an accident." Sarah disappeared from public view. Edward believed she had fled forever. 6 months later, a powerful international lawyer arrived in England. Behind him stood dozens of investigators. The government reopened the Ashcroft inheritance case. Edward laughed. Until the investigators produced the original documents, his smile disappeared. Then came the financial records, illegal transfers, hidden accounts, forgery, fraud, witness statements. One servant after another confessed. Edward realized someone had planned this for years. Sarah walked into the courtroom wearing an elegant white suit. And no longer the frightened orphan, she looked every bit the queen her mother had once been. Just as victory seemed certain, Sarah's closest friend, Emily, betrayed her. Emily secretly stole the original diary. She planned to sell it to Edward in exchange for millions. Sarah was devastated. She had trusted Emily like a sister. Edward smiled again. Without the diary, the case would collapse, or so he believed. Sarah calmly looked toward the judge, then smiled. "I expected this." The courtroom fell silent. She revealed that the diary Emily stole was fake. Weeks earlier, Sarah had replaced every important document. Emily had unknowingly stolen worthless copies. The real evidence had already been submitted under government protection. Edward's face turned white. Emily realized she had betrayed the only person who truly loved her. Both were arrested. As Edward was taken away in handcuffs, he laughed. "You still don't know who killed your parents." Sarah stopped walking. Edward whispered, "I didn't drive the car." The courtroom became silent. Before investigators could question him further, Edward suddenly collapsed. Someone had poisoned him inside prison transport only minutes earlier. His final words echoed endlessly. He is still alive, but who was he? No one knew. The investigation reopened. A secret organization connected to England's oldest noble families began appearing in confidential government files. Sarah finally reclaimed Blackwood Manor. She restored every portrait, every memory, every promise her parents had left behind. Yet every night, she placed Edward's final sentence beside her bed. He is still alive, because deep inside, Sarah knew her revenge was complete. But the real enemy had never shown his face. Blackwood Manor belonged to Sarah once again, and justice had finally exposed years of betrayal. The world believed the Ashcroft story was over, but Sarah had learned one painful lesson: sometimes the person behind the greatest betrayal never stands in the spotlight. As the manor doors closed behind her, a black envelope appeared on the front steps. Inside was a single photograph. Sarah's parents, standing beside a man whose face had been carefully burned away. On the back, written in red ink, were 5 chilling words: "The game has just begun." Sarah slowly smiled. This time, she wasn't running. She was hunting.